Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for Fantastic Four Issue 16, 2022. Oh, and this is actually kind of a really kind of cool cover that really actually fits with kind of what's going on, with the kids kind of taking center stage and doing this whole kind of fun little thing. I really liked that we really hadn't had Franklin, Valeria, Nikki, and Joe, and we get an issue that kind of delves into what they're kind of doing and what they're kind of going on with here. So we see that they're still kind of in trouble, the Fantastic Four, mind you, and that they decide to pretty much take them to Arizona and do all that kind of stuff and have them in school there. I love how the teacher's introducing Joe and Nikki, and they're like, yeah, they're all the way from New York City. I'm an alien warrior from space. I'm an alien warrior from space and a shapeshifter. And all the kids are like, cool. Basic kind of stuff. Franklin, pretty much, they give no shits. But the thing is, this makes sense for, like, the Marvel Universe at this point, because they've grown up with, like, all these kids and all these adults have grown up in a world with all this super fantastic shit. So it would make sense that if you're in this kind of scenario, you would just say you're shit. Like Franklin. I used to have these crazy powers where I could create whole universes with a thought, but now I'm just a guy. Oh, and I help out the Fantastic Four. Cool! Class, this is Valeria. Valeria, can you introduce yourself to your new classmates? I'm Valeria Richards, the daughter of Reed and Sue, and the goddaughter of Dr. Doom. Cool! And then talking about, like, all this stuff, and, like, how a kid at, like Dr. Doom's dog be called Dr. Doom, because I drew some fan art where that happened. Could you please show him? It's like, I almost think that Valeria would be like, yeah, I'd kind of do that. That would just be a weird thing all of its own. And then I love, since I'm partial to, like, sibling kind of stuff, brother, sister stuff, it was kind of cool for them to kind of link up as they're going between classes and just kind of give the lowdown of what's going on, that their homerooms love them and everything. Franklin saying that he was a little bit worried about starting fresh here. Let's see. First thing Dad and I did when I got here was build a closet teleporter back to New York City. Still, I like an adventure. It's cool we get the whole attic to ourselves. You ask me if NYC's still mad at the Fantastic Four and still want to freeze Mom and Dad's money, then I'm not going to miss being there that much. And I totally get that with them. Then they come in to pretty much their science class as they're late. And they're doing something a little different. We're building, we get the teacher pretty much getting down to, like, the scientific method and kind of explaining it, which I'm actually kind of intrigued on it. I kind of like how she does it, of, like, science is building on the repeatable discoveries and knowledge that came before, so that those who came after us can accomplish far more than we could. And that's part of the reason I love science myself. It's like, okay, let's see what kind of cool shit we can make. And then I want to see the inspiration that it'll have to what even cooler kind of shit the people after me is going to make. That's the really kind of cool bit. Like, it's not just that, like, I want to be the last one that built this super awesome fucking thing. I'm only like, I built this super awesome fucking thing, and I want to see what someone else can do after and make that just like the stepping stone kind of thing. So she decides to take the class back to the 1600s, when chemistry and alchemy were still thought to be the same thing, and bringing up Robert Boyle's kind of list of impossible kind of things and inventions. And it's actually kind of cool. Talking about that, it's interesting, the gamut that it runs, from life extension to flight to attaining gigantic dimensions to scratch and sniff stickers. And the second is how many of them we've achieved in just a handful of centuries since Boyle's death. The list is the product of one of the greatest minds of his time, dreaming of everything he hoped a coming scientifically enlightened Earth could one day achieve. With only a few exceptions, we've done it. And then it was done through science, and that she gives them an assignment to pick one of the inventions on Boyle's list that we've achieved and research with which technologies and discoveries were necessary precursors to it. Okay. I'm not really a teacher's pet. That's actually a really kind of cool assignment, and that's kind of shit that I would like to give to a class, but also something that I would like to do in a class, because it's a fun and interesting thing that gets you into it. She's expecting essays and a brief presentation from each of you, and if you want to make and justify your own list for the future, that's extra credit. I'm like, damn. And then we see them kind of like coming together and figuring out what's kind of going on. Saying that it's like Man, this homework's stupid. A single branch of some retro tech treat and an essay. This is a baby assignment for babies, which just goes to show that they really need to be put in kind of like a better kind of place. I get that Valeria is fucking smart as shit, and being given busy work like this, because it would be considered busy work to her, I completely understand her having that point of view on this. Now, granted, since I'm not her high level, I'd be like, oh, this is kind of fun because I'm interested in science and everything, and it would be a nice kind of challenge, and I'd like to look into all the different kind of stuff and do that kind of presentation. But when you're actually wanting to learn things and explore stuff like what the Fantastic Four does, I understand this being like, nah, that sucks. And I love it. Your science commander assigned you an overnight mission? Let me see. Talking about the gigantic dimensions, how Nikki can like make herself big. Let's see here. And that Joe and Nikki want to help them with the assignment. Franklin's like, yeah, I'm going to just write something up. And then Valeria has the bright idea that then spins throughout the rest of this whole thing. They're like, let's do something fantastic. Let's check off one of the items that nobody's even invented yet. Let's see, there's a ton. Transmutation is not going to work. Perpetual light breaks thermodynamics. Wait, the liquid... Alkist and other dissolving menstruums. That's a universal solvent, right? Something that can eat through anything. And then, of course, they're like, let's not tell the parents, and let's get on to this. So they decide to pretty much go through and try to make a universal solvent, which would pretty much eat through anything. I am like, okay, you got to think about the ramifications here. If it could eat through anything, you've got to create some kind of extra dimensional container that can contain this kind of thing. Or something that it, like a force field or whatnot, it can eat through anything. So some kind of vacuum sphere or something. They don't think about that until it's like kind of too late, and we see that like evidently Reed is making tacos and shit, and seeing them trying to like do this while the parents are just being parents is just great. And of course they went back to New York City to like get the kind of shit that they were needed, and they kind of go through everything, and they're like, ta-da, we did it! But the thing is, it's in a glass vial, and it starts eating through shit, and let's see, they're like, ah, fuck! As they're running through, and like Reed and everybody's like, what's going on? Why are you like, Franklin, don't chase your sister, or Val, don't chase your brother. It's like, I don't know what's going on, but don't do that. As it's pretty much burying its way to Earth, and they're like, the glass held the longest, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna have Nikki pretty much, and Valeria's like, no, we're not getting the parents involved in this shit. We're gonna figure this out. It's like, I admire attempting to clean up your own mess. However, if you don't know how to kind of fucking deal with it, get the help that you need. Otherwise, something horrible is going to happen. But Nikki just pretty much goes down through and turns into super skinny her. They decide to play pretty much hot chairs with the tacos. And Reed's like, am I like fucking them up? Did I do something wrong here? As they're like all going to the bathroom, and Sue's like, nope, your tacos are great. Here we go. As it just pretty much keeps going through, as they're going off one through the other, they were able to kind of contain it, and it gets to the evening, and it's like, what do we fucking do with this thing? And Joe's like idea is like, why don't we just throw it into the sun? Which, that needs to be explored, because most things, when something goes wrong, the answer is throw it into the sun. I'm glad that that doesn't completely turn out to be a workable case here. At first they're like, yes, thank you, Joe, that's a very bright idea. So they essentially go to New York City and launch a fucking rocket with the goddamn thing. It's like, oh my god. And I love that they're all like, great, and they're pretty much getting ready to go to sleep. And they're like, well, we got enough time to like wake up early in the morning and get this assignment done and everything. Oh crap, I forgot, the solvent's exotic molecular bonds can't be broken by heat, which means instead of being destroyed, it'll just be vaporized by the sun and blown back to Earth, where it'll burrow millions of molecule-sized holes into everything it touches and turn the entire planet into Swiss cheese. I love her look of shock and horror. She comes through the realization that she fucked up. And, now granted, they're all involved in this, but like that realization of, I stuck my finger in a light socket. So it's now 4 a.m. and it's like, yeah, they're not going to do well on that thing, are they? As they pretty much blast off, they dock with it. And I love how she's arguing the semantics with Franklin. It's like, listen, let me dock with the goddamn thing. Let me just fucking do this shit. And then I love it. They're like, what's our next move? Maybe we could throw it into a black hole. Does anyone know how we could even get to the nearest black hole? Hey, Val, now can we talk to Mom and Dad? Ugh, fine. And land back. And finally come clean with everything. I love how first Franklin's like, Val made a universal solvent. What? You made it too? And then Nikki stopped it from eating its way into the Earth's core all by myself, and then Joe helped fire it into the sun. I was fantastic. Then I flew us there to rescue it from space. And I was pretty fantastic too, actually. A universal solvent? How'd you solve the ion attraction problem? Adaptive associative compounds. Fascinating. Read! We got a problem here. I love how Ben's like, I'm kind of proud of them that they were trying to do this. And it's like, yes, be proud of them. Be like, yes, it's good for you to actually think of how to clean this up on your own. But there becomes a point where it's like, when you get to the point where you're like, we might have to launch this into the sun, run it by someone outside of the core kind of groupthink to be like, wouldn't that have any kind of repercussions? Val's good to be smart enough to be able to think about it before the repercussions came and fucking Swiss cheese the earth. And then now it's just like, you gotta admit you're a little impressed. Kids, you should have told us from the beginning. Exactly. Are we grounded? Well, it's let's focus on solving the problem before we worry about that. And to that end, I say, you're actually not the first members of the family to create a universal solvent in your youth. It's just like, yes, of course Reed Richards would have that fucking problem. Bob Boyle's wish list, right? How'd you know? There are few things more tempting than a scientific to-do list with a couple of items left undone. Transparent, unstable molecules, same as our suits. They counter the solvent's ability to dissolve their bonds. I'm like, there you go. Kind of similar to what I was thinking. And the fact that your solvent is not technically universal anymore, children, is not a challenge. Please don't make any more. As they then go to school, and they're like, and then the parents are like, you know what? This actually turned out very well. And I'm like, yes, because they had a problem, and you came and you helped them with it, so that way they would be more receptive to coming for help in the future. Because I love how Ben does that. You're not worried we let them off easy? Nah. Now Joe and Nikki know they can always come to us, even if someone tells them they don't have to. And Franklin and Val fixed their mistake and learned from it just as I did when I was younger. Plus, they're off to class without any homework done. And if I know our children, there's nothing they hate more than being embarrassed in front of everyone. I do like that. That is a very good kind of lesson. Like, they attempted to fix their mistake at first, which, granted, you need to understand if you can fix the mistake. Just because you've made a mistake doesn't mean you can just fix it all off on your own. Sometimes you need assistance depending upon how it kind of works out. And then they try and pretty much bullshit their way through their thing and get an F-, though I think it's being a little bit harsh on it. And then, of course, Val kind of makes the kind of snarky joke, hey, Nikki, Joe, you guys want to help me build a time machine too? Mom! As we see Joe and Nikki kind of playing video games before Nikki's like, I deal with this shit! It's like, yes. I love seeing their dynamic and seeing how they kind of work together. They don't feel like just a kind of hive-complete group mind. Joe is more of a kind of tactical, literal kind of one. Nikki, being the kind of scroll kind of shapeshifter, kind of like works around different kind of boxes. Val is definitely more of this kind of cerebral one, and Franklin has his own kind of style to it. He's like, okay, let's kind of do this, figure out how we can kind of do this, get through this, utilize his skills with flying and everything like that. But they totally kind of bombed, which I'm okay with, but I think they could have come up with something. I didn't need him to get an A or anything like that. I think a D would have been sufficient, depending upon what kind of went nutty kind of doodah. So if anything, I kind of would have had a little bit of a longer section to showcase a complete burnout, to be like, okay, that completely and utterly deserves an F. I would have been fine with them that they had both fallen asleep and the teacher's like, fuck it, if they're gonna fall asleep, they're just getting an F, you know what I mean? And then being like, fuck. But I did like this because, interestingly enough, we now have 2 Fantastic Fours because of everything that kind of goes on. And granted, Alicia is also included in there, but like the main core of Reed, Sue, Ben, Johnny, and now we've got Val, Franklin, Nikki, and Joe as doing their own kind of stuff. And this was a really kind of good one for me because I liked seeing their group dynamics. I understand if that really isn't everyone's cup of tea because you're reading because you want to read about the Fantastic Four. But I did like that this focused on the family of the Fantastic Four because they are the family and how they kind of work and seeing their kind of group dynamics as their own Fantastic Four. I'm really liking Joe and Nikki and seeing how they interplay with Franklin and Val. It's a different dynamic than our core cast, but not so out of the realm that it feels foreign or whatnot. So I really enjoyed this, and I hope we get kind of more of this in the future, especially kind of getting their own kind of arcs if they have to deal with problems that the other Fantastic Four core family members aren't around to be able to deal with. So, those are my opinions on the issue. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.